Hello, hello. Okay, we are live. I think. Let me check. This is kind of a random stream. Got laundry going, so not really sure what I'm gonna talk about yet, but I'm sure we can get the conversation going about something. Let's pop out the chat here. Rid of that. Okay. Well, so like I said, I don't really know what I'm gonna talk about yet. I'll let the viewers go through and maybe check out some news here and there. Give my thoughts on them. I think there's something going on in the community, a division that I noticed between Alan Pope and the developer of Snap and another YouTube streamer, another big one, switched to Linux. And I'm not going to say who's right or wrong in that situation. Okay, it's not about right or wrong at this point. To me, that whole situation is about if I see something on your official site and it was formatted the way that it is on that Blueprint site, which by the way is still not labeled as rejected. I just checked. I can see how someone would get mistaken. It's like you're at work and you have two managers, and one of your managers tell you to do one thing, and then the next manager tells you that you receive false information, you are supposed to do that. Well, that's, I think there's a legal term for that, isn't it? It's called plausible deniability, right? You can only operate under the information that you have, that you've been given. If you haven't been given any other information, such as, Alan Pope said, we don't use blueprints anymore. Right, well, we don't know that. No, that information is not front and center like it should be. And if you're not going to use blueprints like that anymore, then you should take that down, or put big text up there that says we don't use this anymore, and a link to send you where you gotta go to look for accurate information. That's just my 2 cents on that issue. And I think, ironically enough, it proved the whole situation proved Tom's point that Ubuntu lost touch with their roots because they stopped listening to their user base. Yeah, we'll get into some of the news. If anybody wants to join, this is an open chat. Just hit me up in the chat. I'll send you the link. But yeah, I thought that I'd throw my 2 cents into that whole thing because I don't know. Like, I don't take insults personally, but like, especially not when they're not directed at me personally. But I mean, and I might get a lot of haters for this, but I mean, it's whatever. I think at the end of the day, it could have been handled a lot more maturely than it was. And I really hope that's not how the Ubuntu developers see their users. Well, is there anybody out there watching? Hit me up in the chat here. Let me know if the sound's working. Hit me up in the chat here. But yeah, I'm on the, I say here, blueprints.launchpad.net. Looks like it's Canonical owned. And I mean, I'm not saying one side's right or wrong. I'm just saying that, like, if I was looking at this without all these other articles saying, oh, this is wrong, this is unreliable, I would assume it's true too. Yeah, let's go to DistroWatch. We'll see what we can find here. Hmm. Hmm. Looks like on the Pageit rankings, MX is getting close to Manjaro. I know that's not an accurate measurement, but it's kind of interesting. Like, I've always said that I thought of MX as being like to Arch what Manjaro, or I'm sorry, what MX is to Debian, what Manjaro is to Arch. Has a lot of the same tools, automates a lot of the same things you would have to do manually. And then you got one is first, the other one's second. All right. Check out It's False. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, um, let's see. If nobody's gonna come on, then I might just jump off here. But yeah, I just thought that I would come on and maybe try to spark a discussion or something. Anything. I want to just put in my 2 cents about the whole situation there too. Just like um, just like I think the things like that. Um, I mean, like I started Linux with Ubuntu 10.04, I think it was. The first one I used, and I moved to 10.10 and whatever. And I remember back then, it was very community centrist. It was very, like, it was a different animal back then, in my opinion. And I just feel like now they've lost touch with that. Honestly, that's my that's my honest opinion, is that they've lost touch. And like when I see things like that on Twitter, and like that's one of like and and it's like that's one of like the main developers, that turns me off. That makes me not want to use that system. That makes me not want to use Ubuntu. And I'm not saying that because I'm on Arch. I know I have a bias. I like Arch, but I also liked Ubuntu too. I liked what it used to be, and like I'm not opposed to using it, but I guess that's one thing that every Linux community, every Linux community has a problem with, is a certain amount of elitism that goes on. That you know, but one thing I'll say is this: is like let's say for example, I had an issue with Manjaro one time with the Deepin desktop. Um, it was barking up on me. It had like the volume wasn't working. It was just it was acting funny. Hello, Steve. So I went to the Manjaro forum to find out what's going on. There's like a community. There's like different forums for the community editions. And when I got to the forum, the main developer for that particular community edition was already on top of the issue. They were already discussing it, and they were already working on it. Turns out it was an upstream issue from Deepin itself, but the solution was there. Here, roll it back. That's how quickly they were on top of it. Now, Arch is community driven completely, and I've seen issues come and go within hours because of how quick that they work on that they're on top of that. And I mean, to me, that's like they're actually watching. They're on top of the quality of this stuff. And so I get it. It's a build it yourself, and it's not as easy as Ubuntu can be. But I'm talking strictly about the communities at this point, and I'm talking about like the head like developers, not like the forum elitists like RTFM. No, I'm not talking about them. I know that the Ubuntu communities, the forums, are a lot nicer than the Arch ones. Believe me. However, I'm talking the developers themselves of like the packages of the distros, and I mean, I guess it depends on which ones you're talking about, but like, but the two like the main experiences I've had with Arch and Manjaro and other distributions at that. You know, it might be because Arch is by nature a rolling release. It could be that, but I mean, I don't know. You tell me what you guys think in the chat here. I'm watching it. Um, I'm just kind of rambling right now. Because, like, I tell you what, like, snaps, like, I've never really had the need to use them, right? Everything I need is either in the main Arch repos or in the AUR. I've never, like, I have it installed, like, you know, just in case. Um, just so I could maybe learn how to use them or whatever. But I've never actually installed a snap. But I think I have a few Flatpaks that got installed as a dependencies for another application. However, some of the main concerns that I have with the snaps is if you're going to run like a million of these things, like I install a lot of programs, a lot of apps, and if you open all of them, they mount to their separate partitions or their separate mount points. I mean, imagine someone has their hard drive partitioned 3 different ways, or if it's an SSD, which they don't come with that much space, or not for cheap anyway. That sounds like to me it's going to be a nightmare. I hope they address that if they're really going to do this. I like the concept of a distro agnostic package manager. I think that can have its advantages, and I'm not denying that. However, I think it's got to be done right. And I mean, I get it. Pac-Man is imperfect. You know, I personally prefer Pac-Man over apt. But then again, I also prefer Zypper and DNF over apt too. Like, I don't know why. Apt seems to be, like, for me, my least favorite package manager. And I don't know why. I don't know why, but like back when I tried to use it, like back when I was, you know, distro hopping, I found that the documentation for apt was the most scattered. And like what I could find to do with Pac-Man or DNF, like right there on the site, like boom, right there, boom. I had to look in multiple places to find out how to do the same thing in apt. And I found that, like, you know, certain things that took like one command with other package managers, I had to run a string of like 3 commands to do the same thing with apt. Like, for example, an update or a full update, I had to run apt, what was it? Apt update and apt upgrade and apt full upgrade. Right? 3 commands strung together to get what I could get done. The same thing could be accomplished with just Pac-Man tech SYYU or tech SYU. And so, like, I do think that, like, some things are very inconvenient with that package manager. I think it's come a long way. And again, like, the last time I've used a lot of these distros was like 2015 or so. So, like, a lot of these issues I'm bringing up could be like things of the past. They could be fixed by now. Like, I had some issues with OpenSUSE, and like every time I would install an application, it would say, oh, it's missing a dependency, it can't get this thing, and it would say, oh, do you want to install it and break it, or do you want to do this, or do you want to not install it? And it would do that with every single package I tried to install. And with Fedora, I had issues with like repos failing on me, people not maintaining them, and like every 6 months there was a new point release, and it's like, let's be honest, okay, there are methods within distros to upgrade them. However, they're not there. Yeah, like maybe some of them are now. Right, but back when I was running like point releases and stuff like that, every time I would use the in OS upgrade system to upgrade to the next version, I would always end up with issues, and I would always end up having to wipe the drive and installing the fresh new one anyway. And so for that, I do think that if you're going to be running Fedora, something that bleeding edge or something like that, you might as well switch to a rolling release at that point, because at least that way you're not wiping your drive every 6 months. But like, yeah. I mean, I hope that Ubuntu goes back to its roots, because like I use Arch for my own reasons. It works for me. I figured out how to use it. I have to stop distro hopping, and I landed on it for the software availability, for the lack of dependency issues. Like it was a hurdle getting it installed, but I found a lot of other things once that was done to be a lot easier than in other distros and a lot smoother. And so that's what got me hooked on Arch and kept me coming back to it. However, there's something about like the older Ubuntu's that I liked. There was just something there. Like, I don't know if it's nostalgia or what, but like, I would gladly run Ubuntu on one of my backup machines if they would go back to their roots, just for the keep up what they're doing or whatnot. Mm. Well, doesn't look like there's too many people watching this right now. There's one watching. So, I mean, maybe I'll jump on a little bit later tonight. Let's see what's going on. If anybody else comes on. But yeah, I'm glad that I got my 2 cents in, 2 cents out for that particular situation there. Like I don't like to sling mud. I don't like the like political game or whatnot. But I had to speak up for that, because it just wasn't right. I mean, we're sitting here trying to make Ubuntu the national Linux desktop, and I mean, I don't think that was a good representation of it to the new user, to an advanced user, to any kind of user. That kind of what's the word I'm looking for? Snobbishness and the underhanded like insults, and it just I don't know. It just it's making me wonder whether whether it's viable. Like the community is fine, right? The if you go on the Ubuntu forum, you have an issue, and boom, someone else is right there to help you. But not the main. I mean, like I don't know. I don't know. I hope that this attitude that came from Alan Pope on Twitter the other day does not reflect the entirety of the canonical the Ubuntu development team. But if it does, we have a problem. We have a problem. It has to be addressed. And I mean that's my 2 cents on the issue. And I think I want to jump off here just because it doesn't look like anybody's watching that much. So, yeah, I'll see you guys later.